The second week of production was pretty awesome. It almost felt like a break because we were just living in the studio. And so we did a lot of setup at the beginning because we had to rig all of the lights and bring like the Fisher dolly and all of our gear inside. But then once we got set up on that first day, Connor and I, we had pretty much every time of day rigged on the grid. And so we'd be like, okay, this is an afternoon shot. And then he'd, hit the dimmer board, get it all set up. And then we might bring in like one or two other lights just for accents. But for the most part, we lit most of it from the grid. So it was really easy and it was air conditioned and quiet. And so it was nice after how hectic the first week was to just like have a bit of a breather in between and just get some studio shots.
Range is basically just.
There's two types of producers. One's on the inside, one's on the outside.
To me as the producer and AD, the shoot felt a little like bifurcated. So the first half and the first week was crazy. We were going different places every day. The third week was crazy and we were going different places every day, which meant that middle week in the studio was kind of our safety net.
We've moved into the apartment. This was a very big day. I remember Emily was quite stressed on what will we be seeing in day 6. Are we facing this way or this way? How are we going to cover the scene? Because we were still finishing painting and different things getting done.
Okay, quiet on set, camera speeds.
Action.
I feel like week 2 was one of the weeks that melded together a lot for me because every day we were on set. So it's really hard to keep track of like what we did every day because it's just like, oh, here we are, same location, same day again. So yeah, that was interesting.
Nathan and Emma were just peaches the entire time. Brilliant people. We shot the scene with Nathan first, and then we shot Caitlin's scene next. And deep breath, everyone.
Hold for focus. Around her arm. Camera set.
Action.
Hello?
Charlie, have you forgotten your best friend already?
Emma,
I couldn't see. The scene was a normal scene, like it's being intercut, so it's okay, kind of get it. But her performance also was, for me, not where it needed to be. So I was like, how can I spice things up? And thus began the saga of forced cameos and improved cameos. So I turned to Connor, our gaffer. I said, Connor, I have a surprise for you. I want you to take off your shirt and step into frame when she says, hot guys. And then whatever happens, and step back out. He's like, kind of dying, just chuckling a lot. He's like, okay, let's do it.
Camera speed.
You can see my face.
Yeah.
Just up to you.
My mom is.
Quiet on set. Scene 11.2 Alpha. Take 3. Marker.
Good slate.
Crossing.
Okay, focus.
Deep breath, everyone. And action.
Hello?
Charlie, have you forgotten your best friend already?
Emma, I haven't heard from you in ages. How's it been?
It's been legendary. There's so much culture and beauty. And hot guys.
That's amazing. I'm glad you found the eye candy you were looking for.
Yeah, anyways, how have you been?
I just burst out laughing. I run out of the set. I can't hold it in. It's just too funny. It's just... It was one of the dumbest things, but brilliant. And it's just a beautiful cameo for the film. Shot it again, and it goes down in history as one of the best things about the film. Because later that day, we rushed the footage over to our editor and say, hey, you just got here. Do you mind like exporting this with like the good audio for us? Because Zach, one of our producers, had not seen it yet. He was not there for a span of 15 minutes, 20 minutes when we shot this because he was out doing food. And we wouldn't tell him what happened. He was walking around set like, wait, I missed something? Tell me, come on, what? So then we showed him that night when he finished. We put it up on a big screen, and then I gave a speech. So you guys worked
close the door, close the door.
Really amazingly. You really delivered all perfectly. Congratulations, everyone. Woohoo! We got through 30 plus pages, 1/3 the script in 1 week. That's amazing. I'm giving this as a general pep talk in general.
Yeah.
But our hype speech today is seeing one of our own and his own cameo. So here we go. Enough said. Without further ado, in perfect mixed audio, here we go. Take it away.
Hello.
Charlie, have you forgotten your best friend already?
Emma, I haven't heard from you in ages. How's it been?
Oh, it's been legendary. There's so much culture and beauty. And you know.
Week 2 was great because we were finally able to kind of establish a routine because we were on set every day. So it was really great to not be able to, run around, all over LA trying to catch different shots and at different locations. And so that was really nice. But it presented its own challenges. Working in that space was more convenient, but at the same time, there were some times that things still happened that we were like, how does this happen?
And so I actually wasn't on set all the time those days in week 2. When crew got to set and they were running, on the studio, that meant I got to go back to the office, just kind of plan for the back half of the shoot and the craziness that was going to come in week 3 with the wedding and Big Bear and beach and travel. And we were still finishing up permitting for Big Bear during week 2, and all those details had to be figured out. So yeah, week 2 was smart of us to plan to have the studio week in the middle. It gave us some breathing space to recover a little bit from the beginning and then prep ahead for the final push at the end.
The times when we'd just be like walking through where the fridge would be, or walking in through the bathroom or the closet, or all the little maneuvers I had to do with the dolly, like moving it around. There's ones we were doing like a closet shot and then a shot like through the doorway of the bathroom. And so I had to like creep the dolly like through the apartment, but then through this back little corridor that was between the studio wall and the set walls. And I was just like moving around art and peeking through the clothes in the closet, and fun space to work with, and had its own little quirks. And you'd be looking for someone because you'd hear their voice and you realize like, oh, they're up on a ladder like looking through the roof, like, that's where Connor went, or oh, Robert's up there taking pictures, that's a good vantage point.
We already had a bunch, so
Are we going in the bedroom?
We are.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun just being able to like go home and kind of unwind, and then we'd start the next day where we'd all just like come over to the studio, and we knew the space. We felt really at home in the production center because it was summer, so it was basically like just us here, and we were all like displaced pretty much from our homes because a lot of us were like staying with some stranger or like just in a different house. So we like just kind of owned the kitchen in the production center, and like any free space like just became ours, and it was like, wow, this is like our own house. And then in our living room there's an apartment that we filmed at. But it was a lot of fun. It was nice to kind of like take that break from like working on location where we'd always have to pack everything up and then put it away, to like being able to let art take a little bit of a break and like be able to like leave studio lights on the grid and just concentrate more on the shots that we need to get that day rather than like set up and strike. So it was really nice to have that in the middle of the shoot. No, we don't have to for this scene. I'll frame it out for this one.
Never mind.
Taking a picture of me.
I was going to take a picture of you guys working, but then Andy said that.
But it was hard to keep things up, especially in the afternoon. I mean, you're inside all day, you're not seeing the sunlight, you have no context for what time of day it is. I mean, we would start some days lighting for night and then end the day lighting for morning, and then you walk outside and it's dark and it just messes with your rhythm. Yeah, and with that safety net of being in the studio, we were more relaxed, and that was good. Sometimes I think people felt, at the time I thought people felt too relaxed. And looking back, it was good that we could laugh and take some space. Yeah, but I don't know. I would step away out of the studio, go work on logistics for the next day, and come back and people are running around all over or laughing hysterically. And I mean, guys, come on. We have like 10 more hours to go here.
The bloopers were great. You know, we had some really funny ones. The weird part about this is like the bloopers were scripted. Like, I've never imagined, like, you see it in animated movies sometimes where they'll like script bloopers and then animate them, which that's a lot of extra effort. But at the same time, like, almost always the bloopers were scripted. There was only once or twice that Nathan surprised Marco with something that he did that was just like really random and like hilarious.
Get slate.
5.
Set. Wait, hold for focus.
That's it.
Action.
Bad time? I can come back later.
In my bathroom.
Plumbing, actually. There was a plumbing issue.
Plumbing.
I actually didn't know you lived here, so I can just make my way out right now.
Yeah, that's really best.
Yeah, I'll go. I'm gone.
Elizabeth? Hey! Hey! You! Hey!
But most of the time the bloopers were like, Marco would like pull Nathan aside and be like, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna run in and then you're gonna like scream this at the camera and then you're gonna scare Rebecca. And then he would do it and everyone would laugh, but at the same time it was just like, we're scripting bloopers.
I think the bloopers and all of that stuff might have just been a survival thing. We were just trying to make it through every day. And sometimes they were 12, 14, a couple 16-hour days, I think.
Say hello to my little friend! Let me carry you across the threshold, my love.
And, you know, taking the time for those bloopers actually meant people, you know, felt better and had motivation to make it the rest of the day. So looking back, I don't think it actually added to our time. I think I was just cranky as the first AD on set.
Yeah, it became like a running thing that we would do a take and we'd get the shot that we needed to, and then Marco would just be like, let's try something else. And I'd be like, there's nothing else I can do. And we'd always find something crazy. But yeah, there was some really funny ones. I remember some that like I think I put an ice cube down Sarah's back.
Oh my gosh!
I think at one point, like, I think that was one. I remember like there was. Yeah, I remember that there was like jump scares that we were doing like all throughout the apartment, shooting throughout the apartment for the week. That you never know when somebody was going to be hiding around a corner. So yeah, it was chaos. It was chaos.
Where were you? What's her name? No, that one was first.
I know Andy, it just drove him insane. Like, you could see it on his face. Every time Marco would be like, hey, I scripted that, and you just see Andy's face just like, Marco, why would you script bloopers? We don't have time for this. We always had time for it, but he never thought we had time for it. But I think it was great because it was really fun. It was really great because we did have the time and the space for it. A lot of times we do it at the end of the day, which made it better because that meant that we could do like 4 or 5 bloopers in a row, and then you would just see Andy being like, we could have left early. But part of it I feel like was, you know, just almost kind of to poke Andy a little bit sometimes, but he did a good job. He had fun too sometimes. He would get angry and then he'd laugh, so it worked out.
Still waiting for those 2 shows.
Those shoot shows.
Please continue to be careful with drinks and snacks in the studio, preferably in the kitchen or outside. Lunch will be...
So it was interesting watching Rebecca and Connor because they'd been on Space Waves together. So they already had like this working partnership, and they were, you know, it was like going back to that rather than for most of us. It was, you know, more our first feature, especially for Marco and Andy. So it was, you know, uncharted territory for them, whereas for Rebecca and Connor, it wasn't the same. It was a, you know, different set, different story, different needs for their department. her camera and Junie, but still it was a little more familiar for them. So it was still difficult for them, of course, but they really met all the challenges really well. I mean, everyone did.
Good morning. In less than an hour, crew from here and cast from around the world will be joining us in launching the greatest shoot in the history of Biola film. Biola film. These words should have new meaning for all of us today. We will no longer be divided by our petty differences, but united in our common interests. Perhaps it is fate that today is the middle day of our shoot, and we will be fighting once again, not against time, or holding for sound and camera, or field equipment, but to succeed. We are fighting for this film's right to live, to exist. And should we win the day, August 15th will be a Biola holiday. It will be remembered as the day we declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate reaching our halfway point.
Independence Day, ready? 1, 2, 3. Independence Day!
I think as a whole, it was just really cool to see such a tight crew and to watch them all work together. I had never been a part of such a tight crew. I think the only projects I had done before that were very brief, and I was still getting to know people. It was only my freshman year before that, and so I didn't really know many people, but it was really cool to be able to spend so much time with these wonderfully talented people and get to know them and get to see them work and make those creative decisions. That was just really special.
Speeding. Scene 5 golf, take 4, marker.
We escaped from the studio. We were back to shooting like on location for the most part for Garrett's farewell party, and that was actually a really fun location to shoot at because we got to light their entire like back patio, backyard area. And Emily had these awesome little like bulb lights that she could string across. And I think she only had like 4 or 5 strands, but she like put them in places where it looked like there was a lot more, and it just made everyone just kind of glow and look really warm and welcoming and perfect for like those first few scenes in the film. A lot of people don't realize what we had to do is, in exchange for using that location, we had to clean up all these cardboard boxes from their backyard because they were also film students and they'd been working with Zach King, and he had built like this like cardboard fort for some commercial he was doing, and we had to clean it up. And we didn't realize there was so much because at first it's like, oh, there's one big pile, like, I guess they'll fit in the grip truck. But then, like, after we finished filming, we were just focusing on the cardboard, and they're, like, making piles of cardboard, and, like, the whole crew is kind of, like, coming together and, like, pulling all this cardboard from wherever they'd been hiding it. Like, it was getting to the point where it was just stacks and stacks and stacks, and I'm like, I don't know if this is even going to fit in the grip truck. There's so much cardboard. And we all like tag team like jamming it in there, and we had like a grip truck full of cardboard, and we had to unload it like the next morning, and it was like the funniest thing. They were like, here we are filming this feature film, and we're like unpacking like so much cardboard from the truck.
Scored his own speed.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Dude, yes.
Sons and daughters of Biola, my brothers. A day may come when the caffeine of crafty fails, when we forsake our cameras and forsake all bonds of crewhood. But it is not this day. An hour of late wraps and broken bar techs when the age of production comes crashing down. It is not this day. This day, we film by all that you hold dear on this good earth, I bid you stand, crew of Rubaru!
We really stripped down the apartment for when Charles was alone, and we wanted it to feel just empty and bare and like a vacuum, I think is a good way to describe it. And so it was, I think it really expressed where Charles was at that point in the story, to show that his life has just been stripped down. He feels like he has nothing left. And in the same way, the apartment has lost all its color and a lot of the things in it.
Before Charles, Dark Night of the Soul, essentially, we had to keep it really serious and basically cleared out all the crew that didn't need to be there. It was pretty small. It was just Nathan and Marco and myself. And then we had, of course, William, Roberto, and Emma. I think that was everyone that was in the apartment, and everyone else was just waiting outside the studio.
It was almost kind of building up to that. Like, you could almost feel the tension rising as we got closer and closer. I think it was on Friday that we shot some of those scenes that we were just like, this is going to be hard. And you could just like feel the tension rising, especially in Marco, as we got closer and closer. Just like, how are we going to deal with this? And like, who's going to react what way? And like, how are the actors going to portray this? And so it was really, I feel like that didn't put a cloud over week 2, but at the same time, it was definitely in the back of everyone's head. Like, we knew that was coming. So it was kind of like this, okay, like, buckle down. Like, this is just how it's going to be, and it's going to be fine. But like, we knew that it wasn't going to be an easy day for anyone. So, I'm glad it was at the end of the week though, because if it was at the beginning of the week to start off on such like a low note, it would be really hard to like pick up morale after that.
A lot of the film is deeply personal, but it's also deeply painful. And when we got to talking about the depression of someone reaching the lowest part of their life where they don't see themselves as valuable, and having dealt with that personally, it was almost too close to home. So when Nathan came in that day, we sat down with a conversation. I remember so well just how much watching Nathan on the monitor go through the motions, but also show the severity of his own loss that he's experienced. I wasn't watching a memory of myself going through depression. I wasn't watching Nathan go through depression. I was watching Charles, the character that we have fallen in love with through the story, really broken, reaching the end of his life.
Being as somebody who, in my own personal life, has dealt with depression and dark time, found those struggles, I didn't want to play anything that felt forced or over dramatized. I wanted it to be very real and grounded. And so taking that role on with Charles was not making him feel like he was worthless or inferior, but still having those tendencies of self-doubt. Lots of questioning, life and purpose and the progression of where to go from the point where you are at the moment. So I definitely wanted to bring that to Charles and the reality of the situation, but in a sense not have that the only thing that Charles is based around. It is a part of him and his journey and his life at the moment, but it's not all of who he is. And that's not what makes him Charles.
And it was pretty powerful, doing those scenes. It was difficult, really, for me to see Nathan like that, because I knew he was acting, but at the same time, my heart really just, broke for him.
I feel so lost. I don't know what to do.
That day was like really full of stuff because I was like one of the only 3 people that was actually in the apartment set while they were filming. So it was kind of this really intimate setting where I just felt like it was so much closer to the action than like even Marco or William were outside of the set. Like they were still in the room, but they were outside of like the set. And so it was this really interesting dynamic that I had in there because it was just Rebecca, Robert, and I in there. And it was just it was so quiet and so intense that it really created this like, almost like I was actually watching it happen like in front of me, like over and over again, which, I was able to kind of mentally prepare myself for that beforehand because I knew that's what it was going to be like. So I was able to kind of be like, I just have to like I can't like start crying in the middle of this because
No going back.
I have 5 jobs that I'm doing right now. I just can't like break down and cry. So, and I know it was hard for a lot of other people. But for me, it was difficult, but at the same time, like it was doable. So, but that was a really interesting atmosphere that was created just simply through.
I definitely was emotional that day, and the crew was quiet that day. It was a very still day.
My heart really just, broke for him that I wanted to like give him a hug. And I did after, when we finished, I gave him a hug afterwards. I was like, I'm sorry, Nathan. You did a really good job. But yeah, it was pretty difficult to watch it and feel somewhat helpless. That's like, well, I just have to focus and like do my job. But at the same time, it's pretty difficult just watching him so into that character, and it was very moving.
Something cool that we did was we kept the book that Charles keeps his firearm in the apartment the entire time. And so I suppose very observant audience members might see that book in the apartment the whole time.
Yeah, it travels. It travels in almost every scene. You see it in the bookshelf, on the table, in the bookshelf upright for Chloe and Garrett tucked to the side, and it does appear throughout the whole film. When we decided to put it there, I remember that was a conversation we had like a day before we shot that scene. It was like, yeah, we gotta have the firearm somewhere.
I think that's a great example of like a happy accident kind of thing. I had forgotten that we would need some sort of box or something to put the firearm in, and so it was a last minute, okay, how can we work with what we have and make this work on the fly? And we decided to cut open a book, and I spent about 45 minutes cutting pages out of a giant physics textbook so that I could have a place to put the firearm in. So
I will say that once looking back at it as a whole, it definitely feels intentional. It didn't feel like it was out of place, but more importantly, contextually for eagle-eyed viewers, as you're saying, if they had seen where it is and or upon a repeat viewing, it's sitting next to him the whole time. Like that for me, rewatching it, even as the filmmaker, I'm like, that really added a subtle subtext to what we were trying to accomplish. So again, happy accident, but what a wonderful way of, on the day changes and planning coming together.
And I think that's one of the great things about filmmaking in general is there's a lot of spontaneity and group thinking that happens that ends up creating some really wonderful artistic moments. And I think that's something that happened here.
We had a break after we filmed one scene. Like it was a very long scene, very intense. We took a break. I think it was like an hour and a half-ish break where we ate and we just kind of stepped out of that mentality and took a couple deep breaths. And then we went back in and it like the whole mood changed. It was like a completely different scene almost. But part of my favorite parts of the day was I actually was able to choreograph along with William. William and I actually came up with the whole choreographing of the fight scene, which was really fun. Not something I was expecting to do that day. It was something that Marco was like, hey, come over here and choreograph this fight scene real quick. And I was just like, oh, okay. And it was really funny because I have experience with firearms, and so does William. We knew what you would do if somebody was holding a weapon, and like it didn't fit with Marco's vision of what he wanted to happen in the scene. Like we're like, you push it up and away and you whack it out of his hand, and Marco's like, no, it has to go to the ground and it has to fire. And we're just like, okay. So we had to work around that, but honestly it was so fast. Like we came across a problem, like William came in, he was like, hey, can I help? And I was like, yeah. He took Marco and like talked to him in the corner, and I kind of talked with the actors and saw what they would, what they would think, and we worked together and we figured it out, and we came together and we came up with the exact same plans. It worked out really great, and that was like, it was literally like 2 minutes. It was just like so fast. It just kept, we were just like, okay, this doesn't work, what would happen? You grab this, you do that, okay. Like it was just that fast. And that was one of my favorite parts of the day, just because it just really showed how much the crew had come together at that point and how well we worked together and just the crazy knowledge that everyone had.
Go, people.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Heading there, let's do it again. Rebecca, you see the pills in frame?
I'll double check when I fall the next time.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Yep, okay. Here we go.
All right.
And that's kind of where Rebecca came in again. It was, Marco wanted this shot of Nathan, our actor, falling backwards at the end. And Rebecca was holding the camera. And instead of like, she had to like fall back with him. And she kept doing it over and over and over again. And she was essentially just doing crunches.
All right.
3, 2, 1, go. Again, set.
All right.
3, 2, 1, go. Reset. 3, 2, 1, go. Reset. 3, 2, 1, go. Reset. 3, 2, 1, go. Cut.
Her and Nathan were essentially just like doing a full workout while she was holding the camera on the end of set. So in the end, everyone ended up laughing on Friday, and it was like it boosted the morale again, and like it was just like really low, and then we built it back up. So that was it was a good time in the end, but it definitely didn't start out that way for sure.
Okay, camera set.
Call it.
Marco. Action. We're on like who falls first. Okay. Well, the focus was bad though. Well, yeah. Don't film me now. I didn't cut.
Oh, didn't cut.
You gotta nail that focus, William. You were too far.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay.
Here we go.
Ready?
3, 2, 1, go. Alright, one more time.
Okay. 50 times later.
3, 2, 1, go.
Ooh. I think that was it.
But at the end of it, we were able to take a breath. Because the story doesn't end there, thankfully. So at least that was something. yeah, that was the end of week 2. I feel like I glossed over a lot of things probably in week 2, but that's week 2.